Hey there, fellow farmers and garden enthusiasts. Ever wonder why some fields seem to thrive year after year while others struggle to produce a decent harvest? Well, the secret might be simpler than you think. Imagine your soil as a bank account. If you keep withdrawing without making deposits, eventually you'll run dry. That's exactly what happens when we grow the same crops in the same spot, season after season. But today, I'm going to show you a game-changing technique that's been revolutionizing farms across the globe. Diversified crop rotation. I'm talking about a method so powerful that ancient civilizations used it to feed entire empires, and modern science has proven its incredible benefits. Whether you're working with acres of farmland or a small backyard garden, this guide will transform the way you think about growing your food. In this comprehensive guide, we'll walk through 5 essential chapters that'll turn you into a crop rotation pro. First, we'll dive into why diversified rotation is the backbone of sustainable farming. And trust me, the benefits will blow your mind. Then, we'll roll up our sleeves and learn how to design a rotation system that perfectly fits your unique situation. Our third chapter reveals the secrets of building Superman-strong soil that your plants will absolutely love. In Chapter 4, we'll explore how smart rotation naturally keeps those pesky pests and diseases at bay. No harsh chemicals needed. And finally, we'll take things to the next level with advanced techniques that'll put you leagues ahead of the average farmer. So grab your notepads, because we're about to embark on a journey that'll change your farming game forever. Ready to discover the power of diversified crop rotation? Let's dig in. Why diversified crop rotation is a key in agriculture farming. Let me paint you a picture of 2 neighboring farms. On one side, we've got Farmer Mike, who's been planting corn in the same field for the past decade. His yields are dropping, his soil looks tired, and he's spending more and more on fertilizers and pesticides just to keep things running. But next door, there's Farmer Sarah, whose fields are bursting with life. Corn this year, soybeans the next, followed by wheat, and then cover crops. Her soil is rich and dark, her plants are healthy, and her wallet, well, it's getting heavier each season. You see, what Sarah's doing is called diversified crop rotation, and it's like giving your soil a perfectly balanced diet. Instead of forcing your land to serve up the same meal year after year, you're treating it to a varied menu that keeps it healthy and productive. Think of it as a dance. Different plants taking turns on your field's dance floor, each bringing their own unique moves to benefit the soil. But here's where it gets really interesting. When you rotate different crops through your fields, magic happens underground. Some plants, like legumes, are natural nitrogen factories, pumping this essential nutrient right into your soil. Others, like deep-rooted crops, act like nature's excavators, breaking up compacted soil and bringing up nutrients from deep below. And some crops even act as natural pest control, confusing those troublesome insects that would love to make your field their all-you-can-eat buffet. Now, let's talk about what happens when we don't rotate crops. Monoculture farming, that's growing the same crop repeatedly, might seem simpler, but it's like feeding your kids nothing but pizza for every meal. Sure, they might love it at first, but eventually, problems start showing up. The soil gets depleted. Pests build up because they know exactly where their favorite food will be year after year, and diseases can spread like wildfire through your identical crops. But here's the real kicker. Diversified crop rotation isn't just good for your soil and plants. It's also a smart business move. When you're not putting all your eggs in one basket, you're protected against market fluctuations, weather extremes, and pest outbreaks. If one crop has a tough year, your others can help pick up the slack. Plus, you're building a natural insurance policy right into your soil, making your farm more resilient to whatever challenges come your way. This isn't just some new age farming trend. It's a return to the wisdom our ancestors knew well, backed by modern science and proven results. The farmers who are embracing diversified crop rotation are seeing their soil come alive, their input costs go down, and their farms become more sustainable with each passing season. And the best part? Mother Nature does most of the heavy lifting. We just need to work with her, not against her. Designing a system that works. All right, now that we understand why crop rotation is so powerful, let's get into the exciting part, designing your own rotation system that works like a well-oiled machine. Don't worry if it seems overwhelming at first. I'm going to break it down into bite-sized pieces that'll make perfect sense. First, let's talk about crop families. Think of them as different teams playing together on your field. You've got your legumes like peas and beans, which are nitrogen-fixing superstars. Then there's the nightshade family, including tomatoes and potatoes, which are heavy feeders. Your brassicas, that's your cabbages, broccoli, and their cousins, are great at breaking up soil with their strong roots. And don't forget about your grains, like corn and wheat, which can help build organic matter in your soil. Here's the fun part. These families work together like the best teammates. For example, after your nitrogen-hungry corn finishes its season, following it with nitrogen-fixing soybeans is like giving your soil a natural fertilizer boost. It's all about creating these perfect partnerships in your fields. But hold on. Before you start plotting out your rotation, we need to talk about your local conditions. Your soil and climate are like the game board you're playing on, and you need to know its rules. Got sandy soil? You'll want crops that can handle quick drainage. Heavy clay? Look for plants with strong roots that can break it up. And your climate? Well, that's your growing season's timekeeper. If you're in a cooler region, you might need shorter season varieties, while warm climate farmers can often squeeze in multiple crops per year. Now, here's where it gets personal. Creating your rotation plan. Think of it as writing your farm story for the next few years. Start by asking yourself some key questions. What are your main cash crops? What local markets can you tap into? How much time and equipment do you have? Maybe you want to focus on soil building, or perhaps pest control is your biggest concern. Your answers will shape your rotation strategy. Let me share a practical example. Say you're starting with a 4-year rotation. Year 1 might be corn, making the most of last year's nitrogen-rich soil. Year 2, you switch to soybeans, replenishing that nitrogen. Year 3 could be wheat, which has different root depths and nutrient needs. And year 4, maybe that's your wild card, a diverse cover crop mix that feeds your soil and breaks pest cycles. But remember, flexibility is key. The best rotation plans are written in pencil, not permanent marker. Weather surprises, market changes, or new opportunities might mean adjusting your plan. That's not just okay, it's smart farming. Keep a journal of what works and what doesn't, and don't be afraid to tweak your system as you learn. The beauty of your personalized rotation plan is that it evolves with you and your land. As you get to know your soil better and see how different crops interact, you'll develop an almost intuitive sense of what your fields need. It's like becoming fluent in a new language, the language of your land. Boosting soil health. Now let's dig deep into something truly fascinating, how crop rotation transforms your soil into a thriving underground kingdom. You know that satisfying feeling when you grab a handful of rich, dark soil that crumbles perfectly in your hands? That's what we're aiming for, and crop rotation is our secret weapon. Think of your soil as a bustling city beneath your feet. Every time you rotate crops, you're sending in different communities of residents, each with their unique way of improving the neighborhood. Those deep-rooted alfalfa plants. They're like nature's construction crew, drilling down deep and creating highways for water and nutrients. When corn moves in, its massive root system leaves behind organic matter that acts like tiny sponges, holding on to precious water and nutrients. But here's where it gets really exciting. Let's talk about cover crops, the unsung heroes of soil health. Imagine planting a crop that you're not even going to harvest. Sounds crazy, right? But these green guardians are working overtime for your soil. Plant something like crimson clover or rye after your main harvest, and they'll protect your soil from erosion during those off seasons, just like a warm blanket in winter. And when spring comes, you've got what farmers call green manure, organic matter that's worth its weight in gold. Here's a little trick that'll make your wallet happy. Before you turn those cover crops under, let them flower. You'll attract beneficial insects that'll help control pests naturally. And when you finally incorporate that green manure into your soil, it's like serving up a gourmet feast for all the beneficial microorganisms living there. These tiny helpers break down the organic matter, releasing nutrients that your next crop can use. It's nature's recycling system at its finest. But wait, there's more. Have you ever noticed how some fields seem to bounce back better after a tough season? That's soil resilience, and it's directly linked to soil health. When you rotate crops and use cover crops, you're building a soil structure that can handle whatever Mother Nature throws at it. Those improved soil aggregates, think of them as tiny fortresses. Help your soil hold onto water during dry spells and drain better during wet times. Let's talk numbers for a moment. Farmers who master this soil-building rotation system often report yield increases of 10 to 20% compared to conventional methods. But here's the kicker. They're usually using less fertilizer and seeing better drought resistance too. That's because healthy soil works for you, not against you. The natural systems you've built up are doing the heavy lifting, reducing your input costs while boosting your yields. Remember that handful of perfect soil we talked about at the beginning? That's not just good-looking dirt. It's the foundation of a profitable, sustainable farm. Every crop rotation decision you make is either depositing into or withdrawing from your soil's health bank account. And just like any good investment, the returns compound over time. The healthier your soil gets, the better it performs, creating a positive cycle that keeps building year after year. Pest and disease control. Picture this. You're a potato beetle, and every year you wake up to find your favorite meal right where you left it. Pretty sweet deal, right? Well, that's exactly what happens in fields without crop rotation. But here's where we're going to outsmart these little troublemakers. And we'll do it without emptying our wallets on expensive pesticides. Let me share a fascinating story. Last year, I visited a farmer who was battling a severe corn rootworm problem. His neighbor suggested a simple solution. Break the cycle by not planting corn in that field next year. Sounds too simple, right? But here's the magic. When those rootworm larvae hatched the following spring, instead of corn roots, they found soybeans. No food, no party. The pest population crashed naturally, without a single drop of pesticide. This is where the brilliance of crop rotation really shines. Different pests and diseases are like picky eaters. They usually only feast on specific plant families. When you keep moving your crops around, you're essentially playing a giant game of musical chairs with these pests. By the time they figure out where their favorite food went, it's too late. They've lost their foothold in your fields. But there's more to this story than just confusing the bad guys. When you rotate crops, you're also rolling out the red carpet for the good guys. Beneficial insects, birds, and other natural predators. Plant some flowering cover crops between your main seasons, and you've just created a 5-star hotel for pollinators and pest-eating insects. These natural allies work 24/7 to keep pest populations in check, and they don't send you a bill. Here's a pro tip that'll revolutionize your pest management. Think about your rotation in terms of plant families. For example, if you've got problems with a disease in your tomatoes, don't follow them with potatoes or peppers. They're all in the same family and often share the same diseases. Instead, follow with something completely different, like beans or corn. It's like changing the channel on these pests and diseases. They simply can't keep up. The beauty of this system is that it gets stronger over time. As your soil health improves through rotation, your plants become naturally more resilient. They're better fed, less stressed, and more capable of fighting off attacks on their own. It's like having a strong immune system. Your crops can shake off problems that would have knocked them down before. And here's something that might surprise you. Some crops actually act as natural pest deterrents. Marigolds can suppress harmful nematodes in the soil. Certain cover crops release compounds that naturally suppress weeds. By strategically including these plants in your rotation, you're building a natural defense system right into your farming operation. Remember, farming with nature instead of against it isn't just more sustainable. It's often more profitable too. When you're not spending big bucks on pesticides and fungicides, and your crops are naturally healthier, That difference goes straight to your bottom line. Plus, more and more consumers are willing to pay premium prices for food grown with fewer chemicals. It's a win-win situation that starts with smart crop rotation. Advanced crop rotation techniques. Now that you've got the fundamentals down, let's kick things into high gear with some advanced techniques that'll take your crop rotation game to the next level. We're talking about combining strategies that'll make your farm not just sustainable, but regenerative, where every season leaves your land better than before. Let's start with something revolutionary: no-till farming paired with crop rotation. Imagine never having to fire up that plow again. When you combine no-till with smart crop rotation, you're creating a soil-building powerhouse. Those crop residues on the surface act like a protective blanket, holding moisture, preventing erosion, and slowly feeding your soil life. One farmer I know switched to this system 5 years ago, and now his soil looks like chocolate cake, rich, dark, and full of earthworms. His fuel costs have plummeted, and his crops are more drought-resistant than ever. But here's where it gets really exciting: bringing livestock into the mix. Picture this. Your cover crops aren't just building soil anymore. They're feeding your cattle, sheep, or chickens. These animals become part of your rotation, turning those cover crops into valuable meat or dairy products while their manure feeds your soil. It's like having a mobile fertilizer factory that pays for itself. The animals trample down crop residues, their hooves naturally aerate the soil, and their grazing stimulates plant growth. One rotation might look like this: corn, followed by winter wheat, then diverse cover crops for grazing, back to corn, each step building on the last. Now here's the key to mastering these advanced techniques. You've got to become a keen observer of your land. It's like developing a sixth sense for what your soil and crops are telling you. Those weeds popping up? They're indicating soil conditions. That patchy growth in the corner of your field? It might be showing you where water collects. Keep a farming journal, take photos, measure your soil organic matter. These observations become your roadmap for fine-tuning your rotation. And speaking of fine-tuning, don't be afraid to experiment. Maybe try interseeding cover crops into your standing corn, or test out different grazing timings with your livestock. Some innovative farmers are even incorporating perennial sections into their rotations, creating permanent strips that harbor beneficial insects year-round. The beauty of these advanced techniques is that they work together synergistically. Your no-till practices protect the soil life that your diverse rotation has built up. Your grazing animals speed up nutrient cycling while creating additional income streams. And all of this builds resilience into your farming system. When one part gets stronger, the whole system benefits. Remember, though, that this is a journey, not a destination. Every season brings new lessons, and every field responds differently. The most successful farmers are the ones who stay curious, keep learning, and aren't afraid to adapt their plans based on what they observe. Your rotation plan should be as dynamic as the natural systems you're working with. You're not just farming anymore. You're orchestrating a complex dance between soil, plants, animals, and nature itself. And when you get it right, the results are nothing short of magical. More profitable farms, healthier ecosystems, and a legacy of improved soil for generations to come. So go ahead, take that next step in your farming journey. Your land is ready for it, and now, so are you. And there you have it, fellow farmers, your roadmap to mastering diversified crop rotation. Remember, every great farming legacy started with a single decision to do things differently. Whether you're working with acres of farmland or a backyard garden, the principles we've covered today can transform your soil, boost your yields, and put more money in your pocket. Don't wait for the perfect time to start. Your soil is ready for positive change right now. Take that first step, experiment with what you've learned, and join the growing community of farmers who are revolutionizing agriculture one rotation at a time. Hit that subscribe button, share this video with a farmer who needs to hear this, and let's grow together. Until next time, keep watching our channel, Smart Farming Inside.